Cage Fighting Connoisseurs. This is KidNate at BloodyElbow.com, joined once again by Zane Simon for the UFC 201 six-round post-fight show. Oh my God, Tyron Woodley just blitzed Robbie Lawler. Just brutal, shocking. 2 minutes, 12 seconds, fastest title change in welterweight history in the UFC. Thoughts, Zane Simon?
I'm not ready. I'm not happy. This is not what I showed up for tonight, frankly. I mean, I knew it could happen. Fight. It was cool. You know, I knew it could happen. No discredit to Woodley. It's just not him. You know.
You didn't want Tyron Woodley to be champion.
I didn't want him. I don't care if he's champ. I'm fine if he's champ. I didn't want him to be the one to beat Bob Lawler.
I see. Well, who did you want to beat Bob Lawler?
I could have handled Condit. I could have handled Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy would have been fine. But Woodley, it's just no.
After a performance like that, I can't take anything away from Woodley.
Nothing taken away from him. Nothing.
You just didn't want to see it. Well, there's going to be the inevitable charges of racism, Zen. You're going to have to face it head on. Because Tyron Woodley is the new UFC champion. Oh, my God. A huge overhand right. Left a robin's egg-sized lump on Robbie Lawler's left cheek. Feinted him. You could see it when he charged in. He faked the right hand. Lawler had his hands up. He saw the feint. He dropped his hands, and boom.
Well, and even more than that, he used that left hook as a measuring stick. He threw it out there, and when Lawler glove touched it, he knew, like, okay, I am in exactly the right place to throw this punch, and it will land. And that allowed him he's already got all the speed and power, and it just seemed like that just let him torque into it as much as he wanted to. And that's it.
And that was a beautiful thing. For me, if there is frustration, it's that Woodley has been anything but a big presence in the UFC the last couple of years. He's basically been...
That's where the heart of my problem is that it's not like Woodley's come up to this with a huge string of amazing performances. He has
he's got a 2-fight win streak coming into the fight, and he's only fought twice since August 2014. This was his third fight in the last 2 years, and that's just a long ass time. He hasn't fought since January 31st, 2015. That's a year and a half.
And it's a split decision against Kelvin Gastelum and a fight against the silly-ass version of Dong Young Kim, who just likes to throw whatever he can. Yeah, and before that, he beat, Carlos Condit via knee injury. And it's just, like, the run to get here has not been enthusiastic in a way that makes me want to see him beat Robbie Lawler. Like I say, I got no problem with him becoming champion at some point in his career. This hurts a little.
Well, to me, just as a cynical opportunist, it hurts the business interest of the UFC, I think. There's just not a huge fan base for Woodley. Lawler was struggling. And, when you think about this being the belt that was once held by George St. Pierre, who was one of the biggest draws of the promotion, a belt that went back to Matt Hughes, Pat Miletich, and now Tyron Woodley, it just doesn't bode well for any momentum. Now, and then you got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in the wings, who was hoping for Lawler to win, who expected Lawler to win. Now he's going to face Tyron Woodley, who I think is a tougher fight for Wonderboy because I think he's going to get wrestled.
Well, frankly, everybody thought that Lawler was the easiest fight for anybody as a champ. So, I don't know really what to make of that narrative. I think that Woodley doesn't wrestle by choice. That's not what he wants to do. He's not coming out there to put a wrestling clinic on dudes. He wants to strike. He wants to be a sprawl and brawler, use his wrestling in reverse. So the Wonderboy fight I'm looking forward to it. I still think it's a matchup that could favor Wonderboy, but Woodley definitely has more.
He has a lot of possibilities, and I think I lost Zane Simon. He completely froze up on me. Zane, are you there? Oh, so annoying. Anyway, the YouTube gods are cruel and arbitrary, and I hope that it was him that froze up. There you go. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, you froze up for a while, and so I filled the airtime brilliantly, but vacuously, so I didn't say anything.
Okay.
So, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, if he fights the fight he fought in his fight before last, and now I'm blanking on who that was, where
Johnny Hendricks.
Yeah, against Hendricks. If he fights a fight against he fought against Hendricks, except Johnny Hendricks hasn't been Johnny Hendricks ever since they started doing the drug testing. Not saying that he was doing drugs. I'm just saying it's a fact. It's true that since they started the drug testing.
Well, he's also had notorious weight cut problems and a long enough career
also
that he
changed
could
the weight
getting to the point that they coincide with, his weight cut problems coincided miraculously with USADA testing. I know that may be drawing a coincidence that makes the conspiracy happy of us uncomfortable, but
yes, correlation is not causation. We're well aware of that, and you can tell Johnny Hendricks and his lawyers that, but that's just the facts. I just don't feel like Hendricks of now, maybe it's all mental. Maybe he just lost his motivation. I don't know. But the Hendricks that Wonderboy Thompson beat may not have been the same Hendricks that Robbie Lawler had to beat. And those fights with Lawler took a lot out of him. And with Lawler, you wonder, has he taken so much damage in recent fights that he's been in the cage forever. So, he's going to hit a rapidly diminished returns at some point. And so, that might have been it for the title run, but it was a pretty good title run. It wasn't
an amazing title run that never should have happened. I mean, that's the thing, is that as a fan, I got to be like, realistically, Robbie Lawler never should have been UFC champ. And we just have to kind of revel in how amazing and glorious it is that he was. And that title run he had was amazing. I mean, every fight was just the best fight.
Yeah, it was a great run. Yeah, and I think Lawler was almost a shoo-in at one point for the UFC title in 2002. But
yeah, when he was 19, he was a shoo-in. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, this 19-year-old hits like a truck, and he's such an amazing athlete. He'll be the next great thing." And then 12 years later, we're like, "What the fuck happened to this dude?"
Yeah, and we saw him lose a lot of fights to guys that you would have thought he would have beat, and then he comes back in the UFC and just gets new life. And he claims it was a matter of motivation, and that being outside the UFC, he never felt like it was for real and didn't take it as seriously or whatever. But he just came back like hell on wheels, took the title, held the title, and now dropped the title. So hats off to Robbie Lawler. That was an amazing run, and something like Zane's saying, people did not think you had in you. So very impressive. And Tyron Woodley, I mean, hats off to him, man. I mean, nobody expected this. He looked very powerful. He looked like he was in great condition. He looked well coached. His technique was sharp. And, he could very well do that same thing to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Yeah, he's got the power and the speed to do it to anyone. It's just, Thompson may have the outside footwork and cage craft to stay away from Woodley for long enough for, Woodley to lose enough snap that Thompson can kind of take over late. Who knows? Like, the dynamics when you have that kind of one-shot kill power are always going to be a little funky, because early on, it's like it's the Vitor Belfort thing, except that Woodley is not nearly the head case that Belfort is.
No, not as far as we know. So, yeah, I mean, I could see Woodley sitting on the title for a little while if he can beat Thompson. Thompson seems like a very for real thing, though, and he's going to have a karate style that Woodley's never seen before.
Yeah, Thompson has shown that he can really he can not only fight in a way that is very, dynamic and really can hurt people, but he can do it pretty safely for long stretches. Like, he can stay outside and he can pot shot, and he knows how to pick his spots and how to just fight a smart fight. And that could be the Achilles heel for Woodley. I mean, we've seen the thing with Woodley is that we've seen against guys who can kind of menace him and pressure him, we've seen him totally shut down. Like, not
Nate
just
Marquardt annihilated him back in the day.
Nate Marquardt, but yeah, and that, he's improved since then. But it's also, Rory Mack just shut him down. Like, Woodley did not even come close to competing in that fight. And Jake Shields beat him in a kickboxing match. Like, straight up out kickboxed him. I
mean, it was a split decision, and plenty of people thought Woodley won. Well, anybody who paid attention to that fight all the way through, it was such an ugly hug fest. But
the thing was that because he couldn't hurt Shields, because Shields has such a ridiculous chin, then Shields was able to just pressure him constantly, and Woodley could not respond to that consistently at all.
No, And I mean, maybe Woodley's being coached by Rick Rufus now. Is this new?
Yeah, he moved there, I think, before the Gastelum fight, but that would have been his first fight with them.
If anybody can get you ready for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson,
yeah,
other than the Machida camp or something, this Rick Rufus might be the very best place Woodley can be.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Woodley will match up with Wonderboy. We could be entering one of those places too where the belt just changes hands every fight. Like, it kind of feels like we should have been there for the whole Hendricks and Lawler post GSP stretch, where it should have really probably gone Hendricks, Lawler, Condit, and so forth. Like, those fights were all so close. The Rory Mack one is the only one that was really like, well, clearly, Robbie Lawler finished it, but all the rest of those title fights have just been razor thin and very little difference at the top. So we could continue that. We just haven't seen enough of Woodley recently to say this guy's for sure a dominant champ and much better than the dude who beat, but barely, a very gassed out Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah, I mean, as impressive as a 2-minute, 12-second win is, that can paper over all kinds of sins. He could have injuries we don't know about. He could be in some really bad training habits that is never going to get him past the third round. We don't know. He could be in the best shape of his life. He could be ready for a 10-round fight. We have no idea. And so, it's going to be very interesting to see if and when that fight is booked with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. What are the odds going to be coming out? Do you think Woodley's going to be favored?
I really don't know. No matter what they are, they're going to be close, and that there's going to be a lot of betting in both ways because, Woodley's shown that power, and Thompson's shown the kind of, the great outside sniper ability both guys have shown the ability to beat elite fighters handily. So I think the odds have got to be close.
Yeah, one would think. And then in the co-main event, women's strawweight, Karolina Kowalkiewicz beats Rosa Namajunas by split decision to set up the first all-Polish title fight in UFC history. I'd love to see that fight happen against Joanna Jędrzejczyk in Poland. I mean, he's never done a show in Poland, but I would love to see that.
They did one. They've had their first show in Poland.
Oh, that's right. And Jędrzejczyk headlined it. So, and they've had to flee every other European market pretty much. So I don't see any reason why not to go back.
Yeah, and Poland's a big, popular MMA market. So I really do feel like there's no reason not to bring that fight back there. The only thing would be is we still don't really have a handle on who the hell is going to be headlining UFC 205. Unless
it's not going to be Joanna Jędrzejczyk, though.
No, and unless McGregor is going to make a quick turnaround, that's going to be like it's weird to think like what is going on that card. Like we don't have John Jones, McGregor and Diaz are fighting really soon, so we don't know how ready they could be. They may not be possible at all for it. We don't have Ronda Rousey, who it seemed like I figured she was.
I think it's too late for Ronda Rousey.
It's what?
Do you think it's too late for them to get Ronda Rousey?
I mean, the last thing I heard is that she just had like knee surgery and is probably not coming back until 2017. Like, it just seems more. And they're currently pushing very lightly. They're pushing Nunez versus Pena out there. Like they're showing up to all sorts of press events together, and it's just like
they cannot headline their Madison Square debut with that fight.
No, I know they can't, but I don't know what they can't. Like,
I've got an idea. This is a little outside the box. But what do you think about this? We just had a brother match in the World Series of Fighting. How about Ari Emanuel, the new owner of the UFC, against his brother Rahm Emanuel, the despised and disgraced current mayor of Chicago? Now that shit would sell some tickets. And you know who could break in? Cage side, Donald Trump himself. Maybe we could get Hillary and Bill Clinton to tag team on the other side. So, yeah, I don't know, man. They are desperate.
I don't even, because it's not even, I'm not even talking headline, but at this point with like the, a potential Kowalkiewicz Joanna fight, it'd be like, could it go, something to go on the card, to co-main, to just.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't.
Star power on it.
No, it wouldn't. I mean, as great as Jędrzejczyk is, and I thought Kowalkiewicz put on a very impressive performance. I mean, she was outgunned, I felt, at range, in wrestling, and arguably on the ground, but she beat her in the clinch. And that, when you've got one phase out of 4 and you win the fight, that's very impressive.
Yeah, it also speaks, it's a bit damning of Rose Namajunas, because I think, honestly, she was doing really well for the first round on the outside, hitting Kowalkiewicz hard over and over. But the fact that she couldn't hurt her there, like Kowalkiewicz just kept coming after her, didn't get hurt, didn't get tired, didn't lose confidence. I think it might have made Namajunas lose confidence in it and be like, okay, look, I got to change things up. I got to try doing something else. I'm going to go to the clinch and try to take this girl down. And the moment she did that, she just got ripped to shreds in the clinch.
Yeah, so, knees and elbows again and again and again. That was the story of the night in that fight. And, losing to a clinch fighter is an ugly, painful, and frustrating way to lose, especially if you've got the range advantage. And then on the ground, it didn't spend a lot of time on the ground, but I thought fairly even, and maybe Rose had the edge. And, the lack of power. I mean, she's a woman's strawweight. She's 115 pounds. You know, it's how much power is she going to have? But we've seen Hendricks has power. Yeah. And so that would be a very different fight. I think Joanna Champion is easily a big
Joanna
favorite.
Hendricks is never going to lose confidence in what if something's working, she's just going to keep doing it. Like there's no.
Yeah. Oh, even if she was fighting somebody she wasn't hurting, she'd be like, well, I'm not hurting her, but I'm outpointing her. Here we go. You know? Like,
and she'll just get more, swagger and just, do more whatever she feels like she can do, because you're not able to counter what she's doing. Like, she just grows more confident in what she's doing as long as it's working to any degree.
Yeah. And how did one of the judges scored it for Rose? I mean, that had to be the first round, obviously, but how do you score?
I thought it was a really easy, clear fight to score. Rose lost the second and third, won the first.
Yeah.
The third was sloppy, but Rose still got tagged, hit a lot harder in that round, and by the end of it was really flagging badly. I didn't see much.
Yeah, she was getting her ass kicked, and it was painful for Rose fans to watch. So we got that fight, and then in the third fight on the pay-per-view card, Jake Ellenberger beats Matt Brown TKO, minute 46, and it was a minute 46 with multiple momentum swings. First, Ellenberger drops him with the first punch. Then Brown survives the ensuing ground and pound, then gets up, starts jabbing him, and I mean, as soon as he touched him, Ellenberger was hurt and backing up. And then he eats a liver kick and a couple of vicious shots on the ground, and that's that.
Seriously, Matt Brown never been TKO'd in his whole career. That's the first time. B, how many fucking liver kicks do you think Jake Ellenberger has thrown in his MMA career?
I do not associate Jake Ellenberger with the word liver kick. Not even kick. I mean, he's always seemed like just one of these complete wrestle boxers with almost no kicking.
And a complete headhunter. Just somebody who just sits down right in front of you and is looking to land that one big overhand bomb. I'm sure he kicks more than I remember. I'm sure of it. But
he's being coached by a legend, Rafael Cordero of the Chuta Boxa Academy, the famous home of Wanderlei Silva and Shogun Rua, et cetera, and it shows. I mean,
Cordero's all about fighting with confidence, and the moment Ellenberger came out of the gate, he was just charging after him like, I'm going to beat this dude. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to do it quick, and that's...
But much more impressively, Ellenberger's always had a knock on him as a front runner and a bully, and he cracked him, couldn't finish him, and then Brown's coming back, and you could see Ellenberger was questioning himself. He was scared and backing up and trying to recover, but something else clicked. So a very impressive performance from Jake Ellenberger to overcome all that stuff against an incredibly tough opponent. I never thought Ellenberger would beat Matt Brown. I just never saw that coming.
Yeah, I mean, we've always seen that Brown has, he's got the glass liver. Whenever he's ever been hurt in a fight, it's always been via body shots.
Yep.
But it's the first time he's ever been finished, and he could not, for the life of himself, even get up after that. He was just doubled over.
Well, Ellenberger's got some real power, and the form on that kick was solid. Like, he didn't
it was a great kick. It just, I would never have picked Jake Ellenberger to land a huge body shot or body kick.
No, but
body shot. Like, I know people were like, "Oh, well, the secret to beating Matt Brown is go to his body." I was like, "Yeah, but this is Jake Ellenberger. He headhunts for life."
Jake Ellenberger, coached by the Shoot to Box Academy, that's a whole different equation. And the form on that was good. And I get the feeling if Ellenberger had been dicking around with kicking in some of the camps he's been in the past, he would have some bad habits to unlearn. But as is, Cordero has a pretty blank slate, or it looks like it, because that was a sweet kick. I mean, and real power. So suddenly Ellenberger is now a factor in the division again for the first time in ages. And Ellenberger and Woodley, man, that would be irresistible force meets irresistible force if we got the Woodley we saw tonight. Now, I could see Woodley against Ellenberger turning into Woodley mugging him.
I can see Woodley versus Ellenberger turning into Jake Ellenberger getting jabbed the way he did by Matt Brown, but instead of coming back with a big flurry, eating the kind of hand that like just puts him out cold for multiple minutes. So
it's entirely possible. It's entirely possible, but that would be a very fun fight to see. Yeah. Then in the second fight on the card, Eric Perez beat Francisco Rivera, unanimous decision, 30-26 on two cards and 29-28 on another, which I guess if the judge was conservative with the 10-9s and then gave Rivera the third round, although still giving Rivera the third round, he fell down on his own power in that fight.
I don't think anybody gave Rivera the third round. I think they gave him the first.
Is that what it was?
Rivera did pretty well in the first, landing
the first round you could see even, and so presumably
like I thought 29-28 was the right score. Like the third round, Rivera did
was surprised by the 30-26, but I didn't give Rivera any rounds. I had the first one a draw.
The first, well, you have it a draw, but no ref. Even in today's,
they're starting to score draws.
They are starting to score 10-8s, but even in today's new loose liberal hippie, judging community, the 10-10 round is still verboten.
Yeah, well, we had a draw on the card tonight, so.
But not because of a 10-10 round.
No. Well, because of what? Explain.
Because the draw in the Michael Graves-Bojan Velishkovich fight was that they scored it 10-9 both ways, or they scored it 10-9, 10-9 for Velishkovich in the first and third, and 10-8 for Graves in the second.
I see.
28-28.
Oh, good clear. And we've jumped way ahead, but this Perez-Rivera fight, Perez edged him out, pretty even first round. Some people have for Rivera, but then Perez just outclassed him in the second. And then in the third, as he said, went full Mexican. And it was just ridiculous. And they were just wailing away on each other. And Rivera ends it falling down under his own power. I mean, it was fun.
I love Rivera, like in very small segments, like for that first round, I really love Rivera's game. He's got this nice, tight power kickboxing game, but his functional range is so limited to him setting the tempo, him setting the pace, him getting all the right exchanges he wants. And the moment anything other than that happens, his game just falls to pieces. And, the Rogan and Goldberg the whole time were like, oh, Rivera wants a brawl. He needs that brawl. That's what he's looking for. But when Rivera brawls, he just, he might as well never have trained a day in his life. His technical game just falls. He just throws it all in a dumpster. And
it's just very Leonard Garcia.
Yeah. So the moment he started brawling late in that fight, I was just like, oh, God, he's never going to win this fight. Yeah.
And so a good momentum builder for Perez, who had a little bit of hype around him when he came in. 3 wins into the UFC, but in his last 4 fights, he's been 2-2. So now he's got a 2-fight win streak. I don't think this. I don't feel like the bantamweight division is sizzling because of this, but
No, he's not turning any. He's not making the Thomas Almeida, Aljamain Sterling, Cody Garbrandt noise at this point at all.
No. And Rivera, to be honest, he's 1-4 in his last 5 fights. So it's basically
slip. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for Perez, it was a tune-up fight. But what the fuck is a tune-up fight doing on the pay-per-view for main card? They shot their wad so bad before the sale. It was like the UFC Sopranos bust out is what it was. Those back to back. And now we've got this, and now they don't even have a headliner for 205. So, you got to wonder, Dave Metzger's reporting that the sale is not final. So what is Ari Emanuel thinking tonight? Was it this, he's the basis for one of the characters on Entourage. I can just vision the Entourage guys watching this card and just busting his
I gotta assume they know what they're getting. Any of the talk about, oh my God, WME IMG is immediately going to be soured on this deal. Like, I can't imagine.
It's true. He's worked with them for a long ass time, and he knows exactly how they're operating. And he thinks and
they have all the same people in place, so it's not even like, oh, they just threw all this. They threw this promotion into our laps, and we're like, well, what you figure it the fuck out. We did all the good shit before we left.
Yeah, they can still yell at Dana. I mean, and he has to take their calls. They can call Dana, and he has to listen to him yell. So they're not without recourse. Although Lorenzo might be a little bit harder to get a hold of. Then in the main card opener, you had Ryan Benoit beat Freddie Serrano with a split decision. I had it for Serrano myself. Felt like Benoit.
No. You didn't really, did you?
I really did. I felt like he had a top position again and again, and I wasn't that impressed by the damage Benoit was landing on the feet. I did think he was getting the better of it on the feet, but
yeah, but damage, even with small margins, damage should always count more than control. Takedowns are only good if you do something with them.
It's a new fascism. It's a new PC. What happened to the old ways?
I know, but just that fight was weird trash. That fight was everybody watching that was like, what the shit is this?
Yeah, I did kind of like that Benoit carved a little rep out for himself with a late shot, and now that's his second time. So now he's starting to get a little heat there as an ugly fighter. But yeah, it was a very strange fight.
It's what you get when you got one guy who can't kickbox and can't grapple, and another guy who can't wrestle and can't grapple, and they're fighting each other.
It's true. Yeah, I don't see either of these guys in any way, shape, or form a threat to the top of flyweight division. Then on the Fox Sports 2 prelims, you had Nikita Krylov beat Ed Herman, knocked him out with a walkaway faceplant head kick, 40 seconds of the second round. This was a I don't want to say much improved Krylov, but a much tighter and less mistake-prone Krylov than we've ever seen before.
It's a much more patient Krylov. That's the big thing for him. I mean, he's sort of operating on that Derek Lewis fundamentals without the massive power of Lewis, obviously, but with the idea of he's got the physical gifts, he's got the he's got the basic.
If it's a home invasion, Zane, just keep broadcasting until
that's right. Okay, if I get stabbed, I'll try to do the show until I bleed out.
Yeah, because that'll be huge. That'll be our biggest show ever.
That's right. But he's got the physical gifts. He's got some of the fundamentals he needs to compete. But improving for him is really all about just kind of slowing his roll a bit and being willing to I can actually hang back and pick my shots and really try and compete over the space of a full 15 minutes rather than just I always think of Krylov as the dude who will pour his gas tank over himself and light himself on fire rather than fight for a full 15 minutes. He would rather send himself up in flames, but he fought patient and tight, and he got that left kick cemetery knockout going.
He did indeed. And Herman just is like the last guy you would suspect would have an answer for a good karate attack. But he did manage to light him up in the clinch a couple times. So Krylov got tested.
Yeah, Herman's tough. He's a seasoned vet. He's been around a lot, and he's developed a much better clinch game as time goes on. It's just he's world the slowest light heavyweight in the division.
And for a guy who used to be a middleweight, I mean, you'd think that he would have a quickness edge, but he does not. And
he's the slowest light heavyweight, and he's so willing to brawl. If you start throwing stuff at him, he's just willing to open up and chuck whatever he can back. And he thought he had something for like a half second there in that final burst. Like he's throwing hands with Krylov, and he's like, "Oh, I got this." And
well, he landed a combo. Krylov threw a spinning back fist, landed it, but not devastating. Herman gets a 1-2 off and thinks he's doing something, just like you said. And what he's doing is setting the plate for a big high kick to his own face. I mean,
it was beautiful. Like that is.
He just went
like it's been too long since I've seen a head kick knockout off like a setup like that, where one dude's in combination throwing and just gets absolutely knocked out.
Just light switch turned off. And then in the fight before that, George Masvidal beat Ross Pearson unanimous decision. Almost finished Pearson. Had him hurt early. Almost got the finish, but once he didn't get the finish, then I knew Gamebred was going to coast for the rest of the fight. I just know this cat is as good and tough as they come, but he's always willing to ease up on the gas pedal. He did come out with a quick start this time, though.
Yeah, no, he fought. I mean, he had like the perfect stylistic match. Pearson really needs dudes to come after him to be functional. He's a great counterpuncher, great in the pocket boxer. But he's very willing to lead, and he's not great at leading. So Masvidal was just able to hang back, let Pearson come after him, and pick him off with hard counters all fight.
Yeah, and nice straight punches too.
Yeah, but it's so funny because Masvidal, like his body language and his attitude, I think it just pisses judges off because they get even scoring this fight a 29-28. It's just like I had it 30-26. Like I thought Masvidal really easily beat Pearson throughout the whole thing, and it's just like dudes just hate this guy. Judges are like they're watching him coast out the rest of the fight, and even though he's winning and outlanding Pearson and still ahead, it's just like you can't coast out this fight. You're losing this round.
Yeah, it was something's going on there because when I heard that a judge had it for Pearson, I was astonished. But I was happy to see
Pearson, but they had it 29-28.
29-28 as opposed to
they gave him a round. It's just like really he didn't win a round of that fight. He was
thanks for catching that. But that was I had a whole speech written up when I thought Masvidal was about to knock him out about how excited I was for Masvidal, how happy I was, and I felt bad that it had to happen to Ross Pearson. But Pearson's put a lot of miles on the old car this year. And I think it's just he's hitting a point of diminishing returns, but we'll see where he goes from there. But then in the fight before that, Anthony Hamilton demolished Damian Grabowski, 14 seconds, second fastest heavyweight knockout ever. Todd Duffy, of course, 7-second knockout would be the fastest, but Anthony Hamilton looked pretty good. I mean, it's battling hippos here, but he looked brutal.
Yeah, he gets the prime mating positions on the beach this spring.
Exactly. Many a walrus calf is going to be crushed under that enormous heft.
But I have picked every Anthony Hamilton fight wrong in the UFC, except his loss to Todd Duffy, I think, and maybe his Alexei Oleinik loss. But he's one of those dudes. I think I will always pick every Anthony Hamilton fight wrong because he's huge. He's 6'5", 260 pounds. And he's tough. He's tough enough mostly to survive against other big heavyweights, but he's so technically bad everywhere that I can never make myself pick him against somebody who shows any technique at all. So I'm always like, well, Grabowski's got a little bit of technique, so I think he can beat Anthony Hamilton, and it never goes that way. But I think the best part of the fight for me was I actually missed it, but saw the whole thing in replays because I was out walking my dog. And I came back to hear Joe Rogan talk about the uppercut that started to turn the tide and first hurt Grabowski, and they show it. And there's Hamilton torquing an uppercut into Grabowski's armpit. And not one
well, if Anthony Hamilton hit me in the armpit with an uppercut, I might hemorrhage to death. So
fair enough. But they showed this they showed the full fight basically in slow motion. And until Hamilton landed the last 3 punches, basically not one shot in their brawl landed. It was just two guys clipping each other's arms and armpits and just get nowhere close. And then he landed a couple of shots and it was over.
And that's why we love heavyweight, you know. And all in all, this was a pretty entertaining card. I've been bitching about the UFC because there was no star power here, and I guarantee the traffic was dismal. I guarantee the pay-per-view numbers are going to be dismal. But it was very fun. It delivered a very fun night.
Which is the nice thing. Like, it's nice. I like the fight FS1, FS2 card or parts of the card when they are in between a pay-per-view and Fight Pass, because Fight Pass moves quick and pay-per-views move quick, and they can't afford to run over with their Fox Sports slot. So that has to move at a reasonable speed. And the pacing was fun. There were lots of finishes, and even the bad fights were like really weird. Yeah, there were very few just super boring fights. Like, the worst fight was probably Benoit versus Serrano, and that fight was just bizarre.
It had some interesting things going on, some very inept grappling exchanges for sure. And then the Fox Sports 2 opener, you had Wilson Heiss beat Hector Sandoval by rear naked choke, minute 49. This is the best Heiss I can recall seeing. He was due for a title shot. Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse, was hurt, so he took on Sandoval. I don't know that Sandoval was as dangerous as Joe Rogan was making him out to be, but still, we've seen Heiss drop quite a few fights. I mean, this is a guy who basically washed out of Bellator, and this was the guy people expected, a strong, excellent grappler, gets the takedown, gets the submission, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I mean, Heiss really looks like he's clicking these days. His boxing's sharpened up, and in this fight, like, I would say that for short notice at flyweight, the UFC couldn't have done much better than Hector Sandoval. He's not this, like, he's not some young kid who's totally inexperienced. He's 30. He's had a bunch of fights. He trains at Team Alpha Male. He's a good athlete. He's a solid boxer with real power in his hands. He's not the most well-rounded fighter in the world, but he's a solid winning veteran. And for short notice, like, you're not going to do way better than that.
No, it was a perfectly respectable matchup under the circumstances, but
Heiss looked good. Like, the moment Sandoval came out and was touching him up, was hitting him, clipping him hard, and Heiss just immediately turned the tables and said, "Okay, I'll start taking you down," and choked him out right away. And that's exactly what he needed to do, getting a short notice opponent who had a puncher's chance. Like, you don't want to hang out with the dude and give up a title shot because you let yourself get clipped.
Yeah, I still see like almost 0% chance that he beats Mighty Mouse.
Oh, yeah, him getting touched up and clipped, and then depending on taking the guy down and choking him out against Hector Sandoval kind of tells you what you need to know about his fight with DJ.
Exactly. All right, then you had two fights on the Fight Pass prelims. Michael Graves had a majority draw against Bojan Veljković. We already talked about that one. Then lightweight, Damian Brown beat Cesar Arzamendia. I can't say his name. Arzamendia, yeah. Basically, Brown just didn't look all that great, but he landed some big hooks, and he landed enough of them to knock his man out.
Brown's kind of slow. He's not a great athlete, but he's had, like, I remember scouting him back, like, right when he came to the UFC. It's like, you know, this dude has more power standing than he probably trusts himself with. Like, he doesn't.
Well, and Zane Simon has frozen on us again. That is very frustrating. But yeah, Damian Brown is what he is. I don't think he's going to be making any waves in the lightweight division, but he does have some big power.
Yep. Out on a platter.
You back? You froze up for a minute.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
That's all right. So you were talking about Brown's punching power, but
yeah, Brown has some power. He doesn't really trust. He's not a great boxer. He's not fast, but he hits hard.
Yeah, he hits real hard. If you let him throw that punch at you, you know, if you put your chin right,
fights like this, you know, it's like,
yeah.
You know, right with the chin way out and up, every time he throws anything, his chin was right there, and all Brown had to do was just keep throwing right hands, and he was going to put him away.
Yes, and that's all it took. But anyway, so that's the 201 card. Let's go back to the main event a little bit more. Tyrone Woodley shocked me, shocked you, shocked the world to the extent that the world was paying attention. I imagine it was about 150 some odd thousand people watching on pay-per-view live, and not many more paying attention online. But Tyrone Woodley, man, I'm never going to take that cat lightly again. That was the potential Tyron Woodley realized, I would say, and put.
Of course, champ. You can't do better realizing your potential than being champ. Like,
yeah, and in such fashion. I mean, he didn't like split decision his way into it. Or there's no controversy about that one. It's like any idiot could watch that fight and know, whoo, Tyron Woodley, and a sad end for Robbie Lawler's storied title run. Like you said, it was a fluke that he got the shot in the first place. A fluke that he, not really that he got the shot, but he earned the shot, and then a fluke that he won and. Pair of back and forth battles with Johnny Hendricks, lost 1-1-1, and then edged some more guys, got a couple big knockouts, but that's that for Robbie Lawler. I mean, he could come back. Anything could happen in this division, but next we got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and so I'm looking forward to that one. Maybe that could headline 205.
Maybe. Woodley's obviously not going to be hurt, so.
No, and honestly, if you're going to take a gamble on a big pay-per-view without a big headliner, the Madison Square Garden debut is a good one to do because the New York media is going to be wallowing all over that shit just to show everybody, hey, we're the New York media. When you have a fight in New York, it's a big deal.
It's true. Well, it's gonna be a prestige event, no matter what's on it. They just have to figure out what they can put on it to.
Yeah, I think the main challenge for that one is to deliver a great night of fights.
Yeah,
as opposed to necessarily blow it out with star power. So, anyway, that's our fight, and then Carolina Kowalkiewicz sets up an all-Polish UFC title fight against Joanna Jędrzejczyk by beating Rose Namajunas with a split decision. Did we both agree that the split decision was bullshit?
Yeah, split decision was complete bullshit. That fight was really easy to score. Namajunas won the first, lost the second two.
And that was that. Then, of course, had Jake Ellenberger crush Matt Brown. First TKO ending for Matt Brown, minute 46 seconds of round one. So that's our show. Remember to subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube, MMA Nation on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at KidNate, at TheZaneSimon. Read us at BloodyElbow.com. Am I missing a plug? The upcoming shows.
So. Stay tuned for Knuckle Up tomorrow. We'll have all our shows next week for what's the next one? It's UFC Salt Lake, I think, is coming up next.
It's Bruce Leroy is headlining. So it's against, who's he fighting? Rodriguez. Is it Yair Rodriguez? Yeah, it is.
Oh, he's fighting Yair Rodriguez. Yep.
Yeah, he's fighting Yair Rodriguez. So that'll be a fun one. Yeah, that's a showcase fight for Rodriguez there is what that is, and that ought to be fun.
Yeah, that should be a fun fight. I'm looking forward to that, and we'll do all our shows for that. So
yeah, the Care Don't Care preview, the vivisections, all the fixing. So, adios, MMA aficionados. Thanks, Zane Simon. We'll see you next time.